DVD where he's actually the drummer and John's in it and stuff. He wrote a lot of that dialogue. He wrote a lot of the bits and dialogue, so it's nice to have him working with us now. I just get really excited, like, man, just being able to sit down and like write out a script where it's things that just make you laugh, and just being able to do anything, like non sequiturs and just have stuff you can't do in a live show. Like a cartoon is the perfect place to do that. It turns out that a lot of things we don't find funny are actually funny to fans, so we kind of just like, oh. I mean, we try not to take note of it though, because we always do that. We should probably just keep doing what we're doing, then people find things that we didn't intend to be funny. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh, well, if we try to focus on that, then it'll change or something, so we should just keep doing what we're doing. People might like it still. We should take another question. Man, we can talk forever.
How does it feel as a band and a group of entertainers to truly span multi-generational lines?
Oh, how does it feel to span multi-generational line? Yeah, you know, when we first started, since we were doing street performing, that was our goal. You know, we had to appeal to everyone. And we actually, before we did Steam Powered Giraffe, we were in improv troops, which weren't necessarily family appropriate, but we did characters for like summer camps for children. So we were pirates or cowboys or pretty much pirates and cowboys. But and we actually played songs and stuff, and it was kind of like Steam Powered Giraffe. And I think that was kind of the start of it all. Is you know, basically taking everything we knew. We did mime and stuff as a cowboy, like making all the kids do a lasso and, you know, get a cow and like just making goofy stuff. And we were pretty good with kids. I mean, that was kind of our first in doing any kind of entertainment, I think, any performance. So we did children's shows in college and stuff. It was a lot of fun. I mean, children, I don't know, they're a very easy audience, I think, but some people think that it has to be more adult humor, I suppose, but I don't know, we kind of walk that line of, like, I always use like the old Looney Tunes stuff. It's like, man, those jokes are written for adults and they're having a good time. Kids are pretty smart, and they don't, things that might be like, ooh, I don't know if a kid's gonna be able to handle this, usually can get away with it. So we try not to, what is the word, like candy coat a lot of things, you know? Like, I don't know, the first thing that comes into mind is sometimes we've had where the robot's go into war mode during a live show. That's happened a couple times randomly, thanks to Steve Negretti, which is, you know, really scary and frightening. But it's not like, it's like frightening in the sense that, Falcor is frightening to a kid. In the second one, because man, those boils were really frightening. Yeah, no one remembers that? Oh my God, I'm dating myself.
I remember the never-ending story. Me in the back.
Yeah, so you know, kids are smart, and you know, we don't want to shy away from the, you know, things that might be lost on them, but certainly adults can enjoy too. You know? Yeah, I mean, we all remember when we were kids and we heard a joke or something, and we thought something in the whatever we were watching, whether it was a cartoon or a movie, was funny. But it wasn't until we were adults that we're like, oh, this is actually even more funny, because now it's not just these simple things that we could understand as kids, but there's actually like innuendo stuff going on. I mean, we don't really cross that line, but I don't know. That's always been a goal of ours, is to kind of appeal to everyone. Because if we were like a heavy metal band, what would our audience be? I don't know. You know, stuff with the Beatles have a large following. I mean, not everyone likes the Beatles, but a lot of people do. So something that's simple, acoustic music, harmonies, that kind of speaks to everyone. And, we thought, you know, if we did makeup and mime and robot, I mean, we didn't set out to do all of this. We just kind of learned as we were going. And, you know, there's something for everyone in the act, and that's kind of what we try to think about when we're making stuff. Whether it's, oh, you like the characters. Well, if you don't like those, then maybe you like the makeup, or the costumes, or maybe the music. Maybe you don't like the music. There's something to enjoy, even if it's casually or, you know, obsessively. But I'm the #1 Steam Powered Giraffe fan, so good luck trying to beat that. Next question.
I know you guys talked about like the Beatles kind of thing, but just as a musical basis, like what do you guys usually use as like your basis? Like what got you into like music? Like who were your idols, your guys you strive to be like?
Okay, musical influences and whatnot. You know, Queen, David Bowie, Beatles, Electric Light Orchestra. listened to a lot of musicals growing up. Yeah, so pretty wide palette. When we were kids, we listened to oldies stations all the time, classic rock, all that stuff. We had a babysitter who listened to nothing but old, like golden oldies stuff, so that was a big influence on us. But the same thing, we grew up listening to Beatles, ELO. I definitely fell in love with folk music and stuff. So even more like rock folk, like the band, which is kind of Canadian people that came down and did Southern music. They're in the 70s. You should look them up. But anything like that. I mean, there's a resurgence of that now. You know, his name's escaping. But I mean, it's all, you know, people enjoy that stuff. And you know, when we were doing stuff like that, you know, people say, "Oh, I hope you like grandpa music," but yeah, well, people do apparently. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of timeless in a sense. So I think that acoustic music was always an influence on myself.
I take a different approach to this question usually because these two, and Sam, they draw their musical inspiration from, you know, other bands to create music, whereas I'm not anything of a musician, so I look for inspiration to make the act better. And so I'm lucky enough to work at the La Jolla Playhouse, which is one of the biggest regional theaters in Southern California. And so musicals come in and out of there all the time, and oftentimes we send them to Broadway to make it big into big productions. And so I'm lucky enough to see big musical shows in their infancy at the La Jolla Playhouse and sit alongside like world famous sound designers like Steve Kennedy and see what they do with these musicals. And I go and see these shows at the Playhouse and listen to how they're mixed and what kinds of EQs and delays and all how they tune their sound system, all this technical stuff that I factor in my brain and bring to Steam Power Giraffe to hopefully make them sound better. So for me, it's a list of like musicals that I've heard that I really liked how they sounded. For example, one of the most recent ones at La Jolla Playhouse was called Chasing the Song, a brand new musical that we're hopefully sending to Broadway. That was really, really cool. It was mixed by my friend, mentor, fellow sound designer, Chris Loosman. And whenever I hear his stuff, I'm like, yeah, I got a huge amount of my aesthetic from him because he's the one that taught me how to do what I do. Listening to Chasing the Song, him mixing that, like, yeah, that's totally how I make Steam Power Giraffe. I can hear that. So yeah, like Chasing the Song, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, Hoover Comes Alive, all these laundry list of musicals that have been in the Playhouse. That's where I draw my inspiration.
Oh yeah, we should mention that Stephen Grady is like a huge asset to us. I mean, I don't think we would get so many.
Second syllable, I was glad you said that.
Family friendly. We get compliments on our sound design for our live shows. You know, if someone's playing before us and it's sound guys, usually it's really loud and people want to cover their ears and whatnot, and that's how we feel about going to music. And granted, there's only so much we can do going into a new environment with different speakers and whatnot, but Steve definitely caters to people who like things rather than like sound. That's how I think we all feel. You know, it's like a drummer, you know, you can't turn a drummer down. And I think that we've never had a drummer that's been too loud in our group either, so we're definitely not a rock group. We're like more theatrical, and we owe Steve a lot for our live stuff. Hey, you were also on MK?
Yeah, 5-year question. What's Steam Power Giraffe doing in 5 years? I'm still banking on Steam Power Giraffe music.
We'll get right on that. Writing an opera, is that enough? Come on, Steve. Okay, so the robots are stuck in a boat. Go. We have to make it like one of the black ones. On a boat. First song in the bag. Okay, next question.
Hi, I'm so excited you guys are here, and I really wanted to see your show, but we have a whole group of kids with us, and we live in the area, so we have to drive all these kids home, and we can't stay past 9 o'clock. So would you consider having an earlier show at some point?
Earlier show at some point. Yeah, we do some matinees here and there. It's not up to us usually at these conventions. I suppose, you know, we could ask, but it's kind of like more people are probably bound to go to the later show or a 7 o'clock show or something. Unfortunately, we get a lot of the headlining slots nowadays.
Oh, darn.
But But when we do out-of-state theatrical shows, we'll rent out a theater or something, and usually we'll have sometimes matinees or sometimes just earlier showings, like at 5, 6, or 7. But at conventions, it's usually to sustain everyone at the convention for the weekend. But yes, we do earlier shows. In this state, I have no idea.